$50,000. That was the figure stamped on the check. Kevin clutched in his hand. But mine, the ink was bold and cruel. $0.00. I did not let out a scream. I did not flip a single table in rage. Instead, I methodically packed my life away, locked the office door, and retreated to the sanctuary of my home. I cast my phone into a dark drawer and fell into a slumber deep enough to mimic death. When I powered the device on the next morning, the silence shattered. The notification sound was not a chime, but a continuous piercing shriek. 129 missed calls, 289 text messages. The banner notification screamed the truth. The entire company is looking for you. It was January 2026. The winter wind was howling through the canyons of downtown Chicago, but inside the office, the day prior, it had been a carnival of greed. And Kevin's high-pitched laughter had been the sound of nails on a chalkboard. Ha ha, 50 grand, a full 50 grand. He waved the check in the air like an Olympic gold medal, his face contorted with smug satisfaction. Colleagues swarmed him like flies, drawn to honey, offering hollow congratulations, while their eyes burned with envy. Kevin, you are amazing, new Tesla coming right. Drinks are on me tonight, he bellowed. Amidst the noise, my desk remained a frozen island. In my hand rested an identical envelope. The only difference was the number, 0, and 4 specific words printed on the memo line. Performance bonus, none. Those words were a poison dagger aimed straight at my heart. It was the price of 365 days of burnout, the price of countless all-nighters. Project Aurora, the initiative I spearheaded, had secured the company's strategic dominance for the next 3 years. Projected profits were in the 9 figures, yet my reward was nothing. The room's eyes shifted to me. Pity, schadenfreude, curiosity. They were waiting for the 2026 bonus betrayal meltdown. They waited for me to cry or to quit. I did neither. My expression did not flicker. Calmly, I folded the check into quarters and tucked it into the deepest pocket of my bag. I picked up my mug and walked to the break room. My heels clicked on the floor. Steady, rhythmic, unwavering. As the door closed, I heard Chloe's voice trembling with indignation. That is sick. Everyone knows Project Aurora was Elena's work. Kevin does not know how to code Hello World, but he gets $50,000. Is this company insane? Someone shushed her. Quiet. Do you want to get fired? This is clearly Director Miller's doing. Elena must have pissed him off. I walked out and caught Chloe's red, teary eyes. She looked down, terrified. I placed a hand on her shoulder, offering a faint, cold smile. My eyes told her, do not be afraid. The game has just begun. Back at my desk, I started the purge. Files sorted, data encrypted, personal items boxed. My movements were slow and ritualistic, like a funeral for my career. The office temperature seemed to drop. Silence has spread. Kevin, seeing his spotlight dim, strutted over with a fake sympathetic grin. Hey, Elena. He sighed, feigning regret, though his eyes danced with mockery. The economy is tough this year. The 2026 bonus betrayal is hitting everyone, right? Someone has to take the fall for the budget cuts. Do not overthink it. Try harder next year. I stopped packing and looked him dead in the eye. My gaze was a frozen lake. No anger, no sadness, just absolute zero. His smile faltered. He stepped back unnerved. When the last file was boxed, I shut down my computer. The black screen reflected my face. Calm, terrifyingly calm. Holding my box, I was the last to leave. I did not look back. Walking out of those glass doors felt like stepping off a cliff into a storm, but before I could face the chaos, I required silence. My apartment greeted me like a tomb. I refused to touch the light switch. The cardboard box holding the remnants of my professional dignity thudded heavily against the floorboards near the entrance. My phone was burning a hole in my hand, a vibrating tether to their toxicity. With a burst of adrenaline, I yanked open the bottom drawer of my desk, hurled the device into the darkness, and slammed the wood shut. Quarantine initiated. I stepped into a scalding shower. I let the near-boiling water blister my skin, desperate to scrub away the grime of public execution and the bitter residue of loyalty to a traitor. Emotions. They are nothing but useless variables, and you cannot afford erratic variables when you are sitting at a high-stakes poker table. Alone in the dark, nursing a bowl of plain pasta, the fog in my mind lifted. This was not random cruelty. It was a surgical strike. Director Miller, that smiling predator, he had orchestrated every second of it. Why? Because Project Aurora was not just code. It was the company's lifeline. It was about to make someone very rich or very powerful. Miller possessed zero technical skill, but his greed was bottomless. Kevin, that court jester, waving a $50,000 check, was merely a pawn. He was bait designed to trigger an emotional explosion. Elena was the inconvenience. I knew the architecture of the system too well. They were terrified of me. The zero bonus was a trap to provoke a scene, giving them grounds to fire me for insubordination, and if I stayed silent, they would fire me for performance next quarter anyway. It was a calculated purge. However, they made a single fatal miscalculation. I do not argue with words, I argue with results. I stood by the window, staring out at the Chicago skyline. Thousands of lights, thousands of souls being crushed by the machinery of corporate greed. But tonight, I was not a victim in their machine. I was the hurricane coming to tear it down. I slept without dreams. My brain entered defragmentation mode, sorting complex algorithms and treacherous faces into a weaponized strategy. The next morning, sunlight struck my face. I woke up, and for the first time in years, I did not feel exhaustion. I felt a surge of cold, absolute power. I stood up and retrieved the phone from its dusty grave in the drawer. Pressing the power button felt like lighting a fuse. "Showtime," I whispered. The screen awoke, and the world crashed in. Buzz after buzz after buzz. The notifications were a digital tsunami. 129 missed calls. 289 messages. A dark smirk tugged at the corner of my lips. The top notification was from Human Resources. Usually they only sent generic termination emails. But this was urgent. "Elena, call back immediately. The entire C-suite is looking for you." Yesterday I was disposable trash. Today I was the most wanted person in the building. The panic radiating from the screen was sweeter than I could have imagined. I scrolled down. Chloe had sent 50 frantic texts. "Elena, are you okay? Please answer. Do not do anything rash. Something huge happened. Project Aurora is gone. Pick up Paycut. Kevin's messages painted a journey of deteriorating mental stability. "Elena, do not be mad about the bonus," shifted quickly to "where are you?" and escalated to "get your ass in here," before ending with a terrified "answer me." But the true prize was Director Miller. 20 calls from his private number. His texts were a chaotic mix of threats and begging. "Elena, I know you are upset, but the company needs you. Come back. This is an order. If you do not show, you will face legal consequences." Threats, promises, desperation. "Sorry, Miller. I am not your pawn anymore." I did not return a single call. I took my time. I applied a face mask and selected my armor. A sharp black blazer, a crisp white silk shirt, 4-inch stilettos. I was not dressing for a funeral. I was dressing for a hostile takeover. I drank black coffee. Bitter, clarifying. I opened my personal laptop, connected to a secure proxy, and scanned the internal newsfeed. Every second of my silence amplified their terror. The predator and prey dynamic had violently flipped. I, Elena, was now the chess master. Halfway through my coffee, I finally dialed Chloe. She answered on the first ring. "Elena." "Oh my God, finally." She was sobbing. "I thought you..." "I am fine. I cut her off, my voice ice cold. Tell me, what happened? It is Project Aurora, the underlying source code. It has been stolen. My pupils contracted, just as I had predicted. Aurora was my masterpiece, but it was also the landmine I had buried deep within the company. Chloe continued, her voice trembling. Last night, right after the bonus party, security found a breach. The core code was copied and extracted. The backups were wiped by a virus. It is gone. Everything. The stock is already tanking in pre-market trading. And Miller, he blamed you. In the emergency meeting, he said you stole the code out of revenge for the bonus betrayal. He called the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He named you the prime suspect for industrial espionage. A cold, hollow laugh escaped my throat. A frame job. Miller was more vicious than I gave him credit for. Cut my bonus to give me a motive, steal the code himself, and then pin the crime on me. Do not panic, Chloe. Tell me the details. Intrusion time. Around 10:07 p.m., security said it was a top-tier hacker. Clean entry. And the executives. Chairman Sterling flew in overnight. He is furious. Good. Chairman Sterling understands technology. And Kevin, he was here late last night, acting weird. This morning he looks like a ghost. I hung up. My fingers flew across my keyboard. I did not use the front door. I slipped through a secure maintenance back door I had built years ago. I found the deleted logs buried deep in the server's history. Someone had tried to wipe them, but they were sloppy. I reconstructed the data fragments. An unknown IP address accessed the server at 10:07 p.m. But it was not unknown to me. It was not an external hacker. It was an internal, temporary admin port, a gateway used for vendor data exchange. Only 5 people held access keys to that port. Director Miller was one of them. The picture was crystal clear. This was not a hack. It was an inside job, and I was the designated sacrifice. I stood up and stared into the mirror, my reflection sharp and dangerous. Time to meet the executioners. As I crossed the threshold into the lobby, the atmosphere instantly petrified. The receptionist gasped, audible in the sudden silence. Security guards stiffened their hands, hovering near their belts. Colleagues froze mid-step statues in a corporate museum. My heel struck the marble floor like a metronome counting down to an explosion. Click, click, click. It was the only sound in the entire building. The elevator doors parted to reveal my welcoming committee. Human Resources and Security stood waiting, but Director Miller pushed past them. He stormed out, his face a mask of black rage. Behind him trailed the head of technology and the entire C-suite. Elena, finally. Miller screamed, spitting venom with every word. Where were you? Why was your phone off? You have a hell of a lot of explaining to do. You stole the Aurora code. I took a deliberate step back, dodging his spray. Director Miller, I believe you are the one who needs to do the explaining. You dare argue with me. Get in the conference room. Inside, the air was suffocating, thick with accusation. Chairman Sterling sat at the head of the table, looking ancient and exhausted. 2 plainclothes detectives sat flanking him like vultures. I was directed to the far end of the table, isolated like a convict facing a tribunal. Kevin sat huddled in the corner, shaking, refusing to meet my gaze. Chloe stood by the door, trembling with terror. Miller slammed a file onto the mahogany table. Elena was disgruntled about the bonus. She disappeared last night. The code disappeared with her. It is an open and shut case. He produced a copy of my check, the one reading $0.00. Risk management warned us she was unstable. That is why she received no bonus. We were right. A murmur rippled through the room. Disgust, anger. I scanned their faces, absorbing their judgment. Then I laughed. Director Miller, that is a compelling narrative. It is a shame it is riddled with catastrophic plot holes. I opened my laptop and connected it to the projector. These are the logs you attempted to delete. I recovered them. Last night at 10:07 p.m., the server was accessed from an internal admin port. not an external hack. I stared directly at Miller. As far as I know, you hold the master key for that port. I continued, my voice cutting through the tension. Project Aurora has 3 layers of security alerts. Any breach notifies me immediately, but I received no alert last night. Why? Because my access was revoked immediately after the bonus meeting. You cut the alarm wire before you robbed the house. Miller's face drained of color, turning from flush red to ghost white. The room fell into a deathly silence. The board of directors shifted their gaze from me to Miller. Preposterous! Miller slammed his hand on the table. She is distracting you. She is framing me. Let her speak. The voice was deep and commanding. Chairman Sterling. He looked at me with sharp, calculating eyes. I nodded. Gentlemen, the code was stolen, but what was stolen was a shell. I opened a hidden folder on the screen. This is the shadow system, a failsafe I installed. The code they stole looks authentic, but it lacks the algorithmic soul. If they attempt to run it, it will crash in 3 days and corrupt any database it touches. Gasps filled the room. Through this shadow system, I can track the stolen data, and I can restore the backups. I locked eyes with Miller, delivering the final blow. That $0 check was not risk management, it was a setup. You needed me gone so you could sell the code and frame me for the theft. I closed my laptop with a snap. I can fix this mess, but I have conditions. 1, I get full administrative access. 2, no one interferes with my investigation. 3, my safety is guaranteed. This is not a request, it is a negotiation. Miller was shaking violently. You criminal, you do not get to make demands. I am the only one who can save this company. I replied, my voice sharper than ice. Chairman Sterling, give me 72 hours. If I fail, I go to prison. Sterling studied me for a long moment, weighing the odds. Agreed. Elena is now lead of the crisis response team. Detective hold off on the arrest. In 10 minutes, I had transformed from suspect to savior. I glanced at Kevin. He was trembling uncontrollably. Then I noticed the watch on his wrist, a limited edition Patek Philippe, worth at least $50,000, the exact amount of his bonus. Number, that model has a wait list. I saw that exact catalog on Miller's desk last week. The puzzle pieces clicked into place. I projected the interface of the shadow system onto the main wall. A faint glowing data trail began to pulse in the darkness. Do you see that the prey left footprints? My first move was absolute lockdown. I confiscated every temporary device in the building and transformed the server room into my command center. For 10 agonizing hours, I hunted the data packet through the labyrinth of the dark web. Chloe remained glued to my side, watching the code stream by. Elena, when did you even build the shadow system? Rule number 1 of survival, I muttered, my eyes never leaving the screen. Always keep an ace up your sleeve. Then I had him. The data packet touched down on a secure server in the Cayman Islands. It was registered to Skytech, our fiercest corporate rival, and the internal logs. They were a match for the MAC address of Kevin's laptop. Kevin had transferred the files using Miller's administrative credentials. Chloe leaned, in her voice a hushed whisper. Janitor Joe told me Kevin has been flashing cash all week. He bought a brand new Porsche, and he gave Miller a gift, that Patek watch. The scheme was crystalline. Miller sold our technology to Skytech for millions. Kevin was the mule bought off with a $50,000 bonus and the promise of a promotion. I was merely the fall guy, but I needed to nail Miller, not just his pawn. That night, I met Chairman Sterling in the shadows. I laid out the blueprints for a honeypot operation. I'm going to flush the snakes out of the grass. The next day, I planted a lethal rumor. I let it slip that the shadow system had recovered the encryption keys and that we were performing a full system patch in 48 hours to lock out the hackers permanently. Miller and Kevin panicked. If I patched the system, their back door would slam shut and Skytech would never receive the final decryption key. The deal would collapse. They had no choice but to act. Friday, midnight. The trap was primed. The building was shrouded in darkness as Kevin crept toward the server room. He swiped a keycard, oblivious to the fact that I had flagged it the moment he entered the building. He had no idea the server room he was infiltrating was a decoy. He plugged in a USB drive to upload a virus and send the final key. A bright red pop-up exploded onto the screen. Illegal intrusion detected. Uploading evidence to cloud. Kevin's face drained of blood. He smashed the keyboard in a blind panic, but nothing responded. Chloe walked by the glass, feigning shock, and screamed. Kevin lost his mind. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, desperate to smash the server rack into pieces. With trembling hands, he dialed Miller. "Director, it is a trap. She knows." Miller's voice shrieked over the speakerphone, distorted by rage. "Destroy the drive. Wipe everything. Police, freeze." Detectives kicked down the door. Kevin was tackled to the ground, the fire extinguisher still clutched in his hand, while Miller was still screaming incriminating orders on the line. Safely behind the glass of the control room, I took a sip of my cold coffee. Checkmate. Kevin broke in under an hour. He sang like a bird. He admitted Miller paid him with the bonus and the watch to steal the code. Miller had accepted a $10 million bribe from Skytech. The police arrested Miller at his mansion, dragging him out in his silk pajamas. The following Monday, the town hall meeting felt less like a briefing and more like a coronation. Chairman Sterling stood center stage, the heavy toll of the week's chaos etched into his features. "We owe a profound apology," he began, his voice booming through the auditorium. "And an unpayable debt." He extended a hand toward me, commanding the room's attention. "Elena saved this company from ruin. That $0 check, it will be framed in the lobby. A permanent reminder that value is never decided by a corrupt manager." He paused for a dramatic effect. "Effective immediately, Elena is our new chief strategy officer, and she is awarded $5 million in stock options." The room did not just applaud, it detonated. $5 million, 100 times the size of Kevin's pitiful bonus. Chloe threw her arms around me, tears streaming down her face. I took the stage, but I did not smile. I simply went to work. My first act was a surgical removal of the entire corrupt middle management team. My second act was appointing Chloe as head of operations. My third act was the kill shot, a hostile takeover of Skytech. Their stock had plummeted following the scandal, and I acquired them for pennies on the dollar. The business press branded me the goddess of vengeance. I established a radically transparent bonus system. No more betrayal. 1 year later, in January 2027, I received my annual bonus. The figure was so long it required 2 commas. As for the traitors, Miller and Kevin were sentenced to 15 and 7 years respectively for corporate espionage. I steered my new Aston Martin through the streets, parking outside a familiar coffee shop. I caught the hushed whispers of former colleagues as I walked in. "That is Elena. She owns the city now." I sat in the corner nursing an Americano when my phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. "Europe deal closed. We won." I gazed out the window at the skyline I now help control. That $0 check was never an insult. It was high-octane fuel. The 2026 bonus betrayal did not break me. It made me a legend. $0. That was simply the price of admission to my empire.